Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Next week we've got that big barn burner of an all-women's card on Sky, headlined by Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, and also chief support is another very, very good, potentially very, very good fight between Baumgardner and Michaela Mayer. But tonight we had, as chief support to the Liam Smith fight over in Liverpool, we had Natasha Jonas fighting Patricia Berghult, I think the name is. Swedish girl, 28 years old, undefeated, 15 wins, 3 knockout wins, no defeats, no draws. And in her prime, WBC champ. And certainly, you know, an established light middleweight, because Natasha Jonas won her WBO light middleweight title against Chris Namus, knocked her out in 2 rounds, and Namus looked absolutely terrible, far worse than her record suggested. And since then, Namus has been knocked out in a round over in Canada by a Canadian prospect, and it looks like she probably was shot. So the question marks still remain over Natasha Jonas. This isn't your weight division, light middleweight. Can you take on a prime, skilled Swedish girl? I gather the Swedish girl had some good some good amateur wins as well. Had a pretty good amateur career. In her own right, a champion. Can you take on a prime fellow champ and beat her? And she did. She did it. Now, I had this 97-93, with 1, maybe 2 of those rounds being questionable. I'm talking about the rounds I gave to the Swedish girl. Maybe if I scored it again, I'd have it wider for Natasha. But 2 of the judges had this 100-90. Of course, women's fights are over 10 rounds. They're only 2 minutes. I don't know about 100-90. I thought that was maybe a little bit unkind on the Swede. The other judge had it 99-91. I had it 97-93. I don't know. Look, anyway, the right girl won. And I think that the 10 2-minute rounds, although I don't like it, I think women should fight 3 minutes. I think they should fight 12 rounds in championship fights. It nevertheless suits, or seems to suit, Natasha Jonas, because she was naturally the smaller woman, as you would expect. By the way, Berghult holds a win over Hannah Rankin, who's another of the light middleweight champions, the current ones, the WBA champ. She's fighting Terri Harper, who's jumping up 3 divisions just like Natasha did to fight her. So Berghult is an established champion in her own right, a light middleweight champ, legitimately fits the weight. Jonas doesn't, but over 10 2-minute rounds, Natasha Jonas is able to let it all hang out. She's got extreme power for a woman of her size. You know, she hits very, very hard. She was hurting Berghult far more than Berghult was hurting her. The first round I thought definitely was Berghult's round, because she out-jabbed Natasha, and I was thinking, if Natasha doesn't watch it, she can, if this girl gets some rhythm going, she'll be losing these rounds, she'll be being outboxed. But in the second round, Natasha came out, good whacks to the body, was busier, up close, let her hands go, no mauling, just let the hands go. And she was unnerving Berghult, whose record, even though she was undefeated with 15 wins, apart from the Hannah Rankin win, she didn't really beat anyone of real note. And I know that the gene pool in the women's game isn't anywhere near as deep as the men's, but yeah, I think the chickens came home to roost somewhat. Berghult was away from home. She had her dad in her corner who trains her, but the lack of high-level competition, of having been dragged into the trenches, which is something that Jonas has definitely had, because of course she got stopped early by Vivian Obanoff in a shocker down, I think it was super featherweight, wasn't it? She lost to Katie Taylor in a rematch of their Olympic fight. So she's been there. Berghult hadn't, and it did show, because Jonas was even though she was the smaller woman, far thinner legs, not as broad on the shoulders. A lot of Jonas's weight goes in her, shall we say, her hips. You know, I'll be gentlemanly about it and say hips rather than arse. But you know, she was a smaller woman, but she was kind of bullying the Swedish girl in there, and you know, winning those exchanges and landing more punches. And that's what you got to do to win a fight, isn't it? And she did sting the Swedish girl a few times. There were a few times when Berghult did look shaken. And the pace that Jonas set was impressive as well. Berghult's 28, and this is the type of fight, the type of experience where she can come back as a better fighter. But there's no doubt that the night belonged to NATASHA JONAS. She won Berghult's WBC title to go with her WBO title. Like I said earlier, Hannah Rankin's fighting Terri Harper. The winner of that, I would assume, would fight Jonas for 3 of the belts. I mean, the way things are going, one of these British girls could end up as undisputed champ. You just never know. But it was a decent fight. It was a decent fight, and chief support to the as I'm making this video, the Liam Smith fight hasn't been on yet against Hassan Wakino, I think his name is Wakino. I'll probably pronounce that wrong. I always pronounce his foreign names wrong. Sorry, but you know, what can I say? Ignorant Englishman. But that's not on yet. That's coming up soon. But this was a cheap support, and it was decent. It was a good little fight. The 8th round, I think it was. There was an interesting little cameo. I mean, again, they're only 2 minutes these rounds, so they're actually quite difficult to score. Because if you give the first minute to one fighter and the second minute to another fighter, you haven't really got that third deciding minute. But for the first minute, I thought Berghult really put it on NATASHA. I think this was the 8th round, and was threatening to really sort of finish strongly over 8, 9 and 10. But before that round ended, the second minute of that round, NATASHA came back and shook Berghult. So she behaved like a champion. You know, there was a few little glimpses of what we saw with Usyk in the 9th round against Joshua, and then he came back and had that brilliant 10th round. This was more compact. This was more compact into just 2 minutes. But NATASHA, when a question was asked of her, she answered in the affirmative. And I think that's down to her, not just her amateur schooling, but the fact that she's been through the mill as a pro. She's only had, what is it now, 15 fights as a pro. She got a heavy knockout record, couldn't get rid of the Swede in this fight. But again, they said to her afterwards in the interview, maybe the answer was always move up in weight, right up in weight. And on the evidence of this, it was a good performance. I'd love to see Hannah Rankin fight NATASHA. That was mooted earlier, but they're putting Hannah in with Terri Harper. It'll be an interesting fight though. But I enjoyed this one. What did you think? Did you see it? If so, you know, I assume you thought NATASHA won it. What do you think about future matchups? I think there's some good ones out there. Leave your comments below as always. Double jab the like button and the subscription button if you're new. Much appreciated. I always appreciate your time and your effort. It's great, you know, running this channel and seeing your comments. So leave them below. We will speak again soon. In the meantime, take care. See you later.